You may be seated. Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation here in Fullerton, California. We are an inclusive community dedicated to building a better world. I'm Reverend Robert Blair. My pronouns are he, him, and we are so glad that you can be with us. If there is any way that we can make this space more inviting, no matter who you love, no matter who you are, we are so glad that you are here, and this is a safe space for you. We also have some guests this morning, and we'll be hearing from them with some updates from last week. We'll get to those in just a minute from our concerns and sorrows. UUCF acknowledges that this land is situated in the original ancestral homelands of the Ahachiman, the Kizh, and the Tongva peoples. May we continue to have the humility and courage to help restore all that has been broken and the wisdom to live a new solidarity with indigenous communities and the earth. We've got announcements for you today. Plan to stay after the service. We will not be going in for coffee or treats because we have our congregational conversation coming up right after the last hymn. And Mary will come up before my last words and tell you how that is going to go. Of course, last year, y'all were talking about finding a minister, and that's done. Now we'll figure out where we're going while staying in the present and serving this community as well. So today, if you have big dreams, big visions, we want to hear from you. The AL Parent Orientation is today at 1. I think we're pushing it to 1:15, 1:30, so that the parents of OWL students, you know who you are. Wow, and we just started. Only up from here. Classes begin February 1st. Megan, right over here, has all the details. If you would like to volunteer your time helping out the Sunday RE program while the OWL classes are in session. The Social Action Committee encourages you to participate in a Free America rally. This is happening Tuesday at 2 o'clock on Imperial Highway and State College Boulevard. You can speak out by speaking to Debbie Langenbacher, and she will have all the information on this important time. We kick off our new end-of-life journey group next Saturday, January 24th at 12:30 with a presentation on medical aid in dying. This is Dying with Dignity. This online group is led by Karen Anderson and Patrick Mannion. So if you would like more information on that, you can talk to Patrick here or talk to Karen. Tasty Tuesday is back. Join Linda Doherty Wolf and other foodies as they meet for dinner on the last Tuesday of every month. This Tuesday, its destination is Rutabagas. 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 What you said. Sign up at the welcome table for some great food. Our Visioning Weekend is just 3 weeks away. Please put this on your calendar. February 6th, that's a Friday. Then Saturday, February 7th, that's the day that you really want to look at to be here. And on the 8th, on that Sunday, so that we can continue to learn more about ourselves, and we will have a special guest to help us in the process of moving towards the future with those dreams that we talk about today. Our caring listener this week is Christina Garner. There she is, doing double duty. Thank you, Christina. You can speak with her after the service if you have any concerns or would like to talk to someone, free of judgment, and trust that everything you say is confidential. We will be sharing our joys and sorrows a little later in the service. If you would like to share, you can pick up the pink pieces of paper in the back, fill them out. If you could get to those as soon as possible so that we can include you. If you're on Zoom or on Facebook Live, we're so glad that you're here. If you have joys or concerns, please get those in now so that we can include you as well. Now let's take 1 to 2 minutes and say hello to our neighbors. Go ahead and stay standing and sing with us.
Come
You may be seated. I now invite our worship associate, Megan Smock, to light the chalice as I read from To Remember. Spirit of life, we have come here today to remember what some are intent on making us forget. To remember a man who marched to counter prejudice and oppression. To remember a man with a promise and a dream. To remember a man with a voice that rang out for justice and for freedom. Please join me in saying our unison affirmation. This flame affirms the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. Love is the doctrine that we share, the quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need, thus do we covenant with one another.
It is our custom to provide donations of non-perishable food and personal care items for Pathways of Hope, a local food bank. Please be sure to check the dates on your items as we can't donate anything that's expired. As the children come forward, they're asked to collect the donations placed at the end of the rows. And now the children are invited to come forward for Time for All Ages.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Megan Watson. I am the teen coordinator here at UCF. It's Joy Ellis, our elementary teacher. And before we get started, we have a couple announcements. Thank you so much for everyone who has already volunteered to help out with RE while we are providing OWL to our 7th through 9th graders. If you would like to help out, we have opportunities in March. Thank you guys. You filled up all of February. Very exciting. We have opportunities in March and April. And if you no offense to the teens. If you don't want to hang out with the teens and you want to hang out with the little kids, we can also accommodate that. You can hang out with either grade level group. And then Joy has an announcement as well.
So we have our very own Girl Scout here, Miss Rose, and she is selling Girl Scout cookies, which I know y'all like. If you don't like them, then I don't know. Don't listen to this then. But you can find her after service. In the Chapman Lounge and sign up. She has her order form. She has all the cookie options, so get in on that before they are gone and help our Girl Scout out. So enjoy.
All right, and so our theme today is interesting. So for our Soul Matters for this month, it is all about resisting. The teens, we talked about resisting temptation last week using the Lord of the Rings, and the ring is like temptation. I know that the kiddos have talked about resisting peer pressure. We're going to obviously be talking about resisting racism. But another thing that is talking about resisting is the lure of screen times and social media, and how do we resist that temptation in our lives. And I thought it'd be interesting to hear about what life was like before the internet. So my friends, I have a question for you. You're all very smart, very, learned folk. How do you think we found out what time a movie was playing before we had the internet? No, if I wanted to go to the movie theater and see the newest movie, how would I know when I should go to the movie theater? Find it on a sheet? Yes. Oh, you're so low. The word is almost there. What do you think, Michael? Oh, yay! You could find it in the newspaper. You could actually look in the newspaper for all of the times of the movies. But my favorite version of this, because I am a 90s child, was there was a phone number that you could call. And they would say, if you know the name of the movie you want to see, press 1. And you would listen to all of the movie times for that movie, and you'd have to like go through and like, not that theater, not that theater, not that theater. What about, how do you guys think we found our way around the world prior to, having GPS on our phones, or what did you think, Michael? Maps and compasses. I'm gonna say I wasn't really using a compass, but yes, absolutely. In the woods, yes. Yes. So we used what was called the Thomas Guide. It was this giant book, and I just have a very vivid memory of helping my dad try and find the way, and then he'd flip the page, and it's a totally different part of the city, and he's like, where am I going? I don't know. Help. I want to know, congregants, do you guys have any very specific memories? The youngest one here was born in the year 2016. Oh my goodness. Our kiddos have never experienced the world pre-internet, and definitely none of you were born pre-2008, right? So not even pre-smartphones. They're all only existed in a world of smartphones. Congregants, do you have any memories of the world before these smartphones and internet? Andrew, would you run that mic out to our congregants so they can tell you about what life used to be like? Raise your hand so Andrew.
Well, before the internet, I had to go to the library to find information because there was no such thing as Google. So that's why I had to. Yeah, still come to the library because I love to read. But I had to go and find an encyclopedia. I don't know if you know what that is. So that's how I used to get my information. The World Book Encyclopedia. Thank you.
All right, anyone else have something they would like to share?
I use the dictionary a lot, and especially not just for definitions of words, but for spelling.
There was no spell check.
Yeah, there was no like Merriam-Webster online.
I used to, many years ago, I worked at the auto club, and I would give directions to people calling in. So I would use a Thomas Guide and a map and give the directions to the members.
That's even harder.
You were the GPS.
Yeah.
You were GPS. Oh, Andrew, behind you.
In 1968, how did we find out about protest going on? We used underground newspapers.
Since my favorite thing in the world is going to concerts, we used to have to go to like a shop like a Sam Goody, or even sleep, and you would have to sleep on the street overnight and wait in line to get the ticket to go see U2. That's what we had to do.
All right, one last one, Andrew, right up here.
So many things, but one of the things was that there was no such thing as email. So you couldn't talk to somebody or tweet somebody or text somebody. You had to write them a letter, then you had to mail it. Then they had to write back and mail it to you. So your answer came maybe a week or two after you asked the question.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing, and I'm sure there are lots of other things that we're thinking about, and like, oh my gosh, what was the world like? We're gonna talk today with our kiddos about how can we not go back to a time before the internet, but maybe disconnect sometimes and enjoy life in a way that's not just on our screens. So let's go talk about that.
Go to me a brand new day. Learn
It is now time for our joys, our concerns, and our sorrows. We've got a lot today, and want to make space for the pain that is going on in our world, the pain that is happening in our communities. We want to let you know that Judy's son's funeral is on February 28th. We've decided at 11. Is that correct, Judy?
I think from 10 to 2, and it's a celebration of life.
Okay, so the memorial will be a celebration of life. Between 10 and 2, we'll let you know the exact time of the celebration itself. But our hearts go to you and Al during this difficult time. Many of you saw on the news the Lakewood triple homicide. One of those students was one of our students at our school. Her name's Lily, and she was 17. And so we're asking for your prayers and love and light for the entire CS Arts San Gabriel Valley community, as we mourn not just a loss, but a loss that was so tragic. So if you could keep Lily Alfaro's family in your prayers, and keep all of the teachers, staff, and students who are trying to navigate this the best they know how. I'll be putting up a GoFundMe on my Facebook and Instagram if you would like to help for funeral arrangements for both Lily and her mom. Luckily, the other sister, Maya, was able to get out, and she is safe. So please, as we light a candle for that family and for the school. A sorrow. Neither the massacre nor the internet blackout has ended in Iran. We're still unable to reach family and friends. Please support any efforts that increase chances of resuming internet connectivity. This does not have a name on it. But of course, we send our light and love and concerns. Debbie Langenbacher, a concern for our immigrant neighbors, reports of ICE activity in Fullerton this morning. We want to bring up Connor Atwood. He has someone to introduce as well to give us an update. Of course, Connor has friends who were apprehended and injured from ICE agents last week, and he has an update and an introduction to make. Connor?
So last week I spoke to you about two protesters, two very dear friends of mine who were arrested and brutalized by Department of Homeland Security agents, and I wanted to give an update on that. So the young man who was shot in the eye and has lost sight in that eye, Caden Cole Rumler, you may have seen in the news, as he's been doing interviews. He is out of the hospital after surgery, major surgery, and he's in high spirits. And we have a fundraiser going for his medical expenses and other expenses related to this very life-changing injury, disabling injury. And I wanted to give you an update that so far it's raised more than $125,000 from people all across the country. So that's a joy right there in the midst of all this. And I also want to share my concern as well for the people in Minneapolis and give them the strength to keep resisting and to not give up in the face of everything that they're facing right now. And lastly, I'll just want to introduce Sky, who was a member also of the group Dare to Struggle, which I'm a part of, and who was there, and I'll let them share what they want to share about the events of Friday the 9th.
Thanks, Connor. So, as you all know, Renee Good was executed in broad daylight on January 7th. And since then, people of conscience across the country have decided that they need to stand up against this injustice and demand that there be consequences for her execution. And this has sparked so much bravery and courage from other people, honoring the bravery and courage of Renee Good. And I could be not more proud of everyone who has been out there and all those who are supporting those on the front lines. And on January 9th, as you know, our protest was met with non-lethal bullets, with pepper spray, with violent force from DHS agents. And one of those bullets, cost someone their eye. And I want to tell you how high the spirits are between me, who was arrested, and Caden as well. This has not deterred him nor I at all. It has solidified our courage, it has solidified our conviction that we know that what we did that night was right, and we know that repression is inevitable when you're fighting for justice. So we're here asking humbly anyone, people of conscience, to have those people's back, to support them. Not everyone has to be on the front lines in this movement, but to have a movement without a front lines is to give up before we've even started. So this is gonna take all of us, and I thank you so much for listening to our story, for staying up to date, for having us here today. And ways that you can support would be to tell this story. We have some flyers, because it's not just happening here in Santa Ana and Orange County and Fullerton, it's happening across the country where people are standing up and they're met with repression, and we're able to fight that repression. Our organization, Dare to Struggle, has history and an experience in what it looks like to fight repression, and we usually win. And they don't want us to try because they bank on people not fighting back. They bank on the fear of repression to make us give up. So come up to us, get a flyer. If you want to get a link to donate, if you want to hear about court dates that you can show up to, that's a very meaningful, very impactful way that you can support both me and Caden. We will have court dates coming up, and we are demanding that they drop the charges because the community has our back, and the community knows that we have to fight this, and we can't let this happen. We can't let this continue to, Renee's life is gone. People are dying, and people are being ripped out of their homes, and we have to stop this. So thank you so much for having us.
Sky, Caden, pass this along to Caden as well, Connor. As part of our congregation, Sky and Caden, you are a part of this community as well. Thank you for your role and your courage and your example. We appreciate it. And Connor has been fielding media from all over the country and spreading the word about Caden and Sky. So we light candles for both of you and for the movement. Thank you. We now light one more candle for all of those joys, those concerns, those sorrows, those tears, the pain that remain unexpressed but are still held close to our hearts. Join me in saying the affirmation. We join you in celebrating your joys. May you feel our love and compassion for your sorrows and concerns, for all that is spoken and unspoken. May the caring of our beloved community sustain us all. Please rise in mind, body, or spirit.
Let's move into the spirit of meditation, reflection, and prayer. You may close your eyes, take a deep breath, or whatever helps you relax and find your center. Breathe, said the wind. How can I breathe at a time like this, when the air is full of smoke, of burning tires, burning lives? Just breathe, the wind insisted. Easy for you to say. If the weight of injustice is not wrapped around your throat, cutting off all air, I need you to breathe. I need you to breathe. Don't tell me to be calm when there are so many reasons to be angry, so much cause for despair. I didn't say to be calm, said the wind. I said to breathe. We're going to need a lot of air to make this hurricane together. When Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote from a jail cell in Birmingham in 1963, he was not responding to his enemies. He was responding to friends, to ministers, to religious leaders, to people who believed themselves to be reasonable, faithful, and committed to justice, but who urged patience, restraint, and calm. What troubled Dr. King most was not open hatred, it was the slow suffocation of urgency. From that cell, King named a painful truth, that injustice does not survive only through violence, but through delay, through silence dressed up as wisdom, and moderation mistaken for morality. He wrote to expose what happens when religion becomes more concerned with order than with justice, more committed to quiet than to healing. He warned that faith can become a kind of anesthesia, soothing conscience while suffering continues. King understood that the church often wants reconciliation without repair, peace without transformation, unity without truth. And he refused that bargain. He insisted that tension is sometimes the birthplace of growth, that discomfort can be a moral gift, that wounds covered too quickly do not heal, they deepen. King rejected the comforting myth that time alone would bring justice. He reminded us that time is neutral and that progress is never inevitable. It comes only when people choose courage over convenience. The letter from Birmingham is not an argument for chaos. It is a plea for conscience. It calls the faithful to move from spectators to participants, from silence to solidarity, from polite belief to embodied action. Written in confinement, the letter remains free, free to comfort us, free to confront us, free to challenge us, free to ask whether our faith will anesthetize us or awaken us. And that question, more than 60 years later, still waits for an answer.
A lot happened between the time I chose a title for today's message. We're changing it from "For Healing's Sake" to "A Holy Disturbance." Think about that word, to disturb, to break up the status quo. Yes, it has negative connotations, but we're going to look at this as Dr. King's words disturbing us into action. And through that comes the healing. So we have just heard this description of the letter. It is long and complex and brilliant and prophetic. I encourage you to look at the letter from the Birmingham Jail sometime this weekend so that you can see how brilliantly it was composed. As Dr. King wrote this, from confinement, his spirit couldn't be confined. And his message continues to break through the walls of injustice and in our hearts. It is a letter that moves. It is a letter that presses. It is a letter that disturbs. It reaches across decades and refuses to stay in the past. It is a living document. The letter from the Birmingham Jail is not just a simple historical artifact. It finds us not by shouting, but by reasoning with moral clarity. Its message is meant for us, reminding us that conscience still matters today, that transformation is possible, that people of faith can be persuaded to become braver than they currently are. That alone is hopeful. Dr. King writes, not as someone abandoning belief in humanity, not at all, but as someone wagering everything on it. He writes as if love is not naive, but disciplined and laser focused. I've been mentioning the term conviction the last couple of weeks. You hear hatred with conviction. We're talking about love. That is a love of conviction, discipline, as if justice is not inevitable, but achievable if people are willing to be formed by it. So we're going to go through a couple of different words from this letter. He begins by answering a question that sounds logistical, but it's actually spiritual. He's answering why? Why is he in Birmingham? He answers, because that's where injustice is. Share a little bit of his writing. He writes, I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Never again can we afford to live with the narrow, provincial, outside agitator idea. Anyone who lives inside the United States can never be considered an outsider. King is saying that we as humans, our lives are bound together. Our energy is connected. There are those who will like to tell you that we are separate, we are different. And I ask them to look at us as an ocean, droplets in that ocean, coming together in waves, and they can be waves of love, or they can be waves of hatred. My belief is that we are all love, and that we have more in common than we have in our differences. They're trying to say something different. Injustice is never isolated. It does not respect city limits or denominational lines or personal comfort zones. If one part of the body is injured, the whole body is involved, whether it wants to be or not. Once we understand the spiritual nature that we are one energy, that we are all connected, the idea of neutrality becomes impossible. Your sons and daughters are Renee Good. Your sons are Sky, who is here today. We are all part of the same storm. However, we may not be in the same boat. That's our privilege. But we are all part of the same storm, and we can ride through this together. That insight alone dismantles the fiction that justice work belongs somewhere else. To other people, to other communities, other times. This letter says no, and insists that moral responsibility is not stationary. It shows up at any time, and it shows up wherever we are. This letter is uncomfortable for those of us with privilege, and it's meant to be. From there, King turns to the world that sits at the center of the letter like a warning bell. The word is wait. He writes, "For years now, I have heard the word wait. It rings in the ear of every person with a piercing familiarity. This wait has almost always meant never. It has been a tranquilizing thalidomide, relieving the emotional stress for a moment, only to give birth to an ill-informed infant frustration. We must come to see with the distinguished jurist of yesterday that justice too long delayed is justice denied." We have waited for more than 340 years for our God-given and constitutional rights. My husband, who is a teacher of AP African American Studies, will say every time I say, "We might lose our democracy," and he says to me, "Talk to the people of color and ask if they've ever had democracy, Rob." His message rings true today. We cannot wait anymore. Those years of waiting for King translated into the weight of humiliation, fear, and deferred dignity. Any delay of seeking justice by the oppressor is purposeful. It preserves power while sounding like prudence. And this is where the letter stops being theoretical and becomes a spiritual diagnosis. Because weight is not just something power says to movements. It is something humans say to make them feel better. I'm going to use the royal we here, okay? We say it when we are uneasy but uncertain. We say it when the cost of action feels higher than the cost of delay. King names what is really hard to hear. Time does not heal injustice. Time can just as easily keep injustice. Not only that, it can strengthen and solidify and calcify it. That insight carries us directly into the heart of prophetic faith. The Hebrew prophets never assumed that history would drift towards goodness on its own. They understood time as something entrusted to human beings, something we either shape toward justice or we surrender to cruelty. This is why King insists that justice delayed is justice denied. You've heard that before, right? Not as a slogan, not as a bumper sticker, but as a moral truth. And once delay is exposed for what it is, King turns to the practice that makes delay impossible to ignore. Nonviolent, direct action. King defends creating tension. He is not praising chaos. He is describing a moral reality when injustice is allowed to remain hidden. Those who benefit from it can remain comfortable. Okay, he writes, nonviolent direct action seeks to create such a crisis and establish such creative tension that a community that has consistently refused to negotiate is forced to confront the issue. It seeks so to dramatize the issue that it can no longer be ignored. He writes on, I just referred to the creation of tension as a part of the work of the nonviolent resistor. This may sound rather shocking, but I must confess that I am not afraid of the word tension. I've earnestly worked and preached against violent tension, but there is a type of constructive, nonviolent tension that is necessary for growth. So tension is the consequence of truth finally being brought out into the open. We may feel tense, but let us look at it as an opportunity instead of suffering. There is a long prophetic lineage behind this. The prophets did not come to smooth things over. A prophet was never popular or liked in their hometown. They came to tell the truth so clearly that avoidance became impossible. And it got many of them killed, including the one who King followed, Jesus himself. He and other prophets disrupted the illusion of peace that rested on unequal ground. King stands squarely in that tradition. He understands that conflict is not always a failure of community. Sometimes it's the first honest sign that community is taking moral reality seriously, and that is what we are seeing. That insight matters deeply for us because it is so easy to confuse peace with quiet and unity with the absence of disagreement. It's easy to believe that harmony is the highest good, even when harmony is purchased at the cost of someone else's dignity. King offers a different vision. And here it is. Not the peace that avoids tension, but the peace that emerges after justice is addressed. Not the calm that comes from silence, but the stability that comes from truth. Some tensions are not meant to be soothed. They are meant to be transformative. And that brings us to the most uncomfortable and perhaps most necessary part of the letter. I know that this is uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable reading this and hearing my husband say the truth about democracy for the privileged. King does not reserve his sharpest critique for those who openly oppose him. He directs it toward those who consider themselves reasonable, those who agree with his goals but conveniently resist his methods, those who value order, civility, and gradualism. He writes, "We can never forget everything Hitler did in Germany was legal, and everything the Hungarian freedom fighters did in Hungary was illegal. It was illegal to aid and comfort a Jew in Hitler's Germany, but I am sure that if I had lived in Germany during that time, I would have aided and comforted my Jewish brothers, even though it was illegal. If I lived in a communist country today where certain principles dear to the Christian faith are suppressed, I believe I would openly advocate disobeying these anti-religious laws. I must make two honest confessions to you, my Christian and Jewish siblings. First, I must confess that over the last few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the oppressed's great stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the white citizen's counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direction. Because when order is prioritized over justice, the result is not neutrality. It is not only alignment with the status quo, but actually it is aiding the enemy. When comfort is protected more fiercely than dignity, harm is allowed to continue politely. Friends, this is not a condemnation at all. It's an invitation to honesty. It asks piercing questions. What are we most committed to preserving? Our sense of reasonableness? Our reputation? Our convenience? Or the full humanity of those whose lives are shaped by systems they did not choose? King understands something essential. Systems do not change because people agree they should. They change because people become unwilling to cooperate with injustice, even when cooperation would be easier. Our core value in Unitarian Universalism is love. Not when it's convenient, not when it's easy. This is when love counts the most, when it is hard. King's letter is not just political theory, it is moral instruction. Instructions that are as important today as they were the day King wrote them. he had a couple of slips of paper and a pencil and jotted this incredible letter to us, remember, from the confines of a jail cell. And we, as you use during this weekend, during this time, cannot just take it as a 3-day weekend to enjoy. Not now. We're not going to romanticize things because King does not romanticize resistance. He insists on it being done openly, lovingly, and with a willingness to accept consequences. That willingness is what turns protest into moral witness. It reveals that the goal is not chaos but transformation. Here, the letter quietly asks something of us, not as admirers of history, but as people living now. What costs are we willing to bear for the values we profess? Not abstract costs, real ones. The discomfort, misunderstanding, risk. Because convictions that never ask anything of us are not convictions at all. They are privilege and preferences. We have a choice. But this letter is not despairing. Don't worry, I'm going to send you with hope. One of the most moving aspects of the letter from the Birmingham Jail is that it never gives up on the moral capacity of its readers. Even in disappointment, King writes as if people can still choose differently, as if religious communities can still remember who they are meant to be. He dreams of a faith that does not simply mirror society's values, but reshapes them. A faith that functions as a thermostat, not a thermometer, setting the moral temperature rather than merely recording it. That is not nostalgia, it is hope rooted in discipline. Hope that refuses sentimentality, hope that does not bypass conflict, hope that trusts human beings enough to challenge them. And then King ends with a question that reverberates still. He asks, what kind of extremist will we be? Can we be extremists in love? Absolutely. Not extremists of hatred, the opposite. Not extremists of ideology, but extremists of love. Love understood not as softness, but as fierce commitment to human worth. Love that insists on dignity, love that disrupts injustice, not because it enjoys conflict, but because it refuses to accept a world where some lives are treated as expendable and others treated as holy. It is not a naive love. It is not a Hallmark love. It is a trained love, a practiced love, love that shows up again and again. So here's the invitation of the letter for us. Not as a history lesson, but as a living call. Where, I'm going to use the royal we again, where have we accepted a false peace that depends on silence? Where have we learned to live with a moral crisis rather than confront it? Where are we being asked not to agree, but to act? The letter does not demand perfection. It demands us participating. Like Connor and Sky were talking about, we don't need just people on the front lines. Everyone has their gifts. So what's so wonderful about this community of faith that we each have our gifts to give in this time. It calls us to become a people willing to disturb unjust arrangements, not out of anger, but out of devotion to what makes life possible. And it trusts us enough to believe we can rise to this calling. May we be worthy of that trust. May our spiritual relatives upon which we stand look at us with pride and hope that we are born in this time for a reason, for this moment. May we practice resistance, not as a moment, but as a way of life. May we go out and walk, metaphorically, in love and resistance. And may we, in this time and place, help create the kind of holy disturbance that opens the way, that breaks our hearts open so that we can feel and heal and give at the same time, to help create that holy disturbance, not just to change, but to commit to justice. Amen.
At UUCF, we embrace the possibility of a world filled with peace, acceptance, justice, love, and joy. By our financial commitment, we help this congregation make these possibilities real in a challenging world. A basket is being brought around the sanctuary, and there are payment options on the screens. Whatever you are able to give is received with gratitude, and we thank you for your commitment and generosity.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is exciting, yes? Yes? Okay, I just want to welcome everyone. I believe I counted about almost 70 people here today, and I'm sure there's been people coming and going. So what we want to do at the end here of the closing hymns, or maybe even while you're singing it, is to be moving into different areas so that we have groups of 10 or less in a group to be able to have a good conversation. For those people on Zoom, I will be joining you as soon as I've made sure that everybody here is set, and I will be in Rob's office and I will be leading that group. So we are so glad that you are here to help shape the future of our UUCF community. Today is about moving beyond the what is and stepping into the what if. We have a unique opportunity to listen to one another and weave our individual hopes into a shared vision for UUCF. In your groups, we want to create a space of radical imagination and personal agency. So to guide our time together, we're focusing on 2 questions. We sent them out earlier. The first question is the vision, dreaming forward. So imagine yourself at UUCF in 3 to 5 years. What would you hope to find? We invite you to dream big. Don't worry about the how just yet. Focus on the feeling, the programs, the spirit, and the community presidents you want to see thriving. What does our future look like at its very best? And 2, the commitment, activating our gifts. What can you commit to right now to make this future real? Vision requires legs to move forward. So think about your superpowers, those unique skills, deep passions, specific talents that you carry. How can you plug those into our mission today to ensure the UUCF of 2030 is exactly what we've imagined? So a few guidelines or a little covenant. You want to listen to understand. Give each person your full attention, no crosstalk. Let them say what they have to say and move it all the way through the group so everyone has a chance to express their feelings. Be bold. There are no small dreams or unimportant skills. Share the air. Like I said, ensure everyone has a chance to speak. So please try to keep your comments down to each question to about 2 minutes so everyone has time to give their input. And lastly, we need a scribe in each group. Last time we had smaller groups, and so we had 2 board members per group and 1 was a scribe, but we don't have that today, so we need to have 1 person volunteer to be a scribe. There is paper for you to write on, so you should be good. Make sure that you put the person's name down with their comments so that we know how to talk to them if we need to. And the scribe will kind of read back what they're writing to make sure they have your thoughts correct. The scribe will then give the written notes to the facilitator, the board member, and they will give them to me and I will correlate or put them all together. All right, we are going to go ahead and move during the closing hymn. You can move the chairs into groups. So how we were moving is there will be, group number 1 will be in the back by the tech booth. Group number 2 will be in the back, kind of in the middle here. Group number 3 will be over in this area by the chimes. Group number 4 will be up in the front. Group number 5 will be over here in the front part, most toward the pulpit. And the Zoom group will be outside. There's a group number 7, if we have more than 10 people in groups, it will be in the narthex, and it will be right through those doors, exit doors right there. So thank you all for listening to all my instructions, and we will get to closing words.
I want to quote Dr. King one more time and leave you with these words and wishes. He says, "All too many others have been more cautious than courageous and have remained silent behind the anesthetizing security of stained glass windows." Martin Luther King Jr. wrote from a jail cell not to condemn us, not to condemn the church, but to awaken it. Right? We're talking about a holy disturbance. We're talking about a new day that can come. We're talking about a day where we can bring love into this world because the moral arc of the universe does not bend by itself. It's up to us to do it. Stay now in peace. After our conversation, go with new intention. Go with love in your heart. Go with service where you can make a difference as you use. And so we now extinguish this chalice. But not the light of truth, or the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts wherever we may go. And so we say together, Amen. Shalom. Salam. Namaste, and blessed be. Please stand in mind, body, or spirit to sing our last song. It's We Shall Overcome.
Shall